They did use it in civilian areas, didn't they? But they denied using them in civilian areas. That's one of the things that people get so upset about.
Well, I'm not sure what constitutes a civilian area when you're fighting a war nationwide. If you use it in the cities, there's civilians in the cities. If you use it in the country, there's civilians in the country. Where is an area where only military gathers and you can fight a war without hurting civilians? That concept went out 2,000 years ago.
So it's a necessary evil. Do you think that the use of depleted uranium should constitute, if not a war crime, something that really civilized countries should not use?
Well, the whole issue of what's an authorized weapon is really kind of silly. It's okay for me to shoot you in the head with a copper-jacketed bullet, but I can't shoot you in the head with a lead bullet. That's against the Geneva Convention. I can bayonet you in the belly with a two-bladed bayonet, but if I bayonet you in the belly with a three-bladed bayonet, that's against the Geneva Convention. So, I mean,
you think it's nonsense, basically?
I think it's nonsense. If you're going to kill somebody, you're going to kill them. You want to kill them in the most economically efficient and safe to you way manner. That's what war is all about. It's not a game of sport. It's a deadly battle.
Khalid, we're dancing and we're splitting hairs here because in the end you're talking about war, and we can't fight a war with one hand behind one's back. In the end, it's about killing the enemy in the most economic way possible.
Well, killing the enemy shouldn't really mean killing innocents, and even depleted uranium is not included in the Geneva Convention. But I mean, it is still, for me, it's still a war crime. Anyone who have seen the Iraqi children suffering the impact of the depleted uranium would say it is definitely a war crime. A country like the United States, saying that's the leader of the free world and the protector of the human rights, should not be using this weapon, and I think it should be now banned internationally, and countries in Europe like Belgium already officially banned it. The other point is, like, when we talk about when it's war and killing people, I mean, that's how they killed 1 million people in Iraq, because they don't really give a damn who this shell or ammunition going to kill, and whether it's depleted uranium or not. I mean, if you go into war, just kill. Well, this is what the United States is doing in Libya now, and have done in Iraq and elsewhere. And that's why a good intelligence should tell us who is civilians that we should be protecting and who is the enemy that we should kill. But with so miserable intelligence in every war the United States has fought, this is what we get, and they call it collateral damage.
The miserable intelligence is what causes death and damage to civilians. Now, you worked in intelligence services for 30 years. That's a slight against you and your service, I suppose, Bob.
It's not even worth responding to.
Well, you might want to respond because he's made a direct accusation.
Well, he's made a direct accusation based on I'm not sure what. You know, what is the miserable intelligence he's accusing of?
What's the miserable
targeting intelligence?
Well, then we got 1 million people killed in Iraq. Don't tell me 1 million innocent people killed in Iraq who were the United States enemies. I mean, they went there to change the regime, but they ended
we're talking about
killing
Libya. We're not rehashing history.
Civilians.
Let's stay
Iraq.
on point. We're talking about Libya today. That's the topic.
Well, it's the same problem, because
it's not the same problem. We didn't use nuclear weapons
in Libya. You have
we
killed
didn't use
even
nuclear
the
weapons in Iraq either. We used them in Hiroshima.
There have been friendly fire, as you call it, against revolutionary forces in Libya.
If you want to discuss what happened in Iraq later, I'll be more than happy to talk with you.
Let me stop the two of you. Let me stop the two of you. We were talking about Libya, but of course there is a background to the use of depleted uranium. Because, of course, we know that it was used in Iraq. We know that it was used in Kosovo. I want to go to Thomas C. Mountain, the independent journalist in Eritrea. Bob was saying that basically when you're fighting a war, you're fighting a war. It's not tiddlywinks. You're not messing around. You're trying to kill your enemy in the most economic and efficient way possible, and a way that will not harm you. Let's get real, basically.
Well, depleted uranium is a major war crime and crime against humanity because it is so non-specific. When it strikes an object, it ignites, and when it burns, it creates a microscopic radioactive poison. It's measured in the microns, 1/4 of an inch. It creates a fireball that shoots a column of this radioactive poison up into the sky as high as 1,000 feet, where the prevailing winds pick it up and spread it across the country. It's so fine that it can be ingested in any number of ways and become an internal poison. It can come to you can swallow it in your saliva, you can ingest it in food, you can drink it in water. It's so small it's possible to even absorb it through your mucus tissue.
So, Thomas, is what you're saying that they should not use depleted uranium, they should use an efficient method of killing, i.e. use other missiles, but ones that are not tipped with this deadly metal?
They've used depleted uranium. They have to go in. They've committed this war crime. They have a responsibility to go in and to start cleaning up this mess they've created. They've got to stop denying it. They've got to go in and start protecting the Libyan people they claim that they're protecting in the first place. The Libyan people are being poisoned, especially women, pregnant women, and small children. They're the ones that are going to be the most affected. This isn't about war. This is about using an indiscriminate radioactive poison on a civilian population.
Okay, this isn't about war. It's about using an indiscriminate weapon against, well, what was going to impact upon a civilian population. If it's about killing soldiers, if it's about destroying military installations, use something else.
Well, let's address the points one at a time. First of all, we're still dealing with an allegation, not a fact. Mm-hmm. And we keep reverting to a discussion as if it is a fact and there is no proof.
If it were a fact, would you be appalled?
If it were a fact, I would be very concerned that we've had NATO, the United Kingdom, and the United States all denying something that was so obviously provable. That would be really idiotic on their part. The other point that I would like to make is that the military power that is available to NATO would be sufficient to crush Tripoli and the surrounding environs. Absolutely crush it, destroy it, convert it back to sand and rubble.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing NATO doing is trying to very precisely, with precision, hit military targets. They're not indiscriminately killing people. They're holding back, they're reserving their military power and using those that are the most selective. The recent reintroduction of Apache helicopters into the conflict is a way to get more precision in hitting a military target.
They're flying in closer, aren't they?
They can fly in closer. It's not like dropping a bomb from 30,000 feet when you're traveling at 800 miles an hour. They're getting in very, very close so they don't miss and they minimize collateral damage. All of these suggest to me that the NATO forces are taking every step they can to minimize civilian casualties.
Let's put that to you, Khalid, because Bob is making a very, very clear counterpoint there. Instead of complaining and believing these allegations about depleted uranium, look at the evidence. In the end, the US, the UK, French forces are doing their utmost not to kill civilians, which is why this is taking so long.
I think it's really appalling to expect people to believe whatever the United States would say. I mean, the United States has lied in Iraq when they said Iraq had possessed a mass destruction weapon. They have lied when they said that Iraq had links to Al-Qaeda. So they have a history of telling lies to justify wars. So we really should take this allegation very seriously.
But in this particular case, it's taking so long because they don't want to flatten the city. They don't want to flatten Tripoli. They want to be very, very clear about who they're targeting.
Well,
on behalf of the revolutionary forces.
Well, as I said, we have seen what they call friendly fire, killing even the revolutionary forces.
They're mistakes, though, aren't they?
Mistakes. Mistakes can cost 1 million civilian life, as it happened in Iraq. And again, this is a miserable intelligence. And in my opinion, that's why they are taking so long. The other point is, if the United States is such a huge superpower, why they need this particular weapon to win a war? Why the United States, the strongest military machine in the world, we still need this weapon that will kill children? I have seen the children in Baghdad. I mean, people talking, but you go back to look at. I have spoken to them personally. Yeah. I spoke to their mothers. You look at their eyes. They will, they will die in few days.
What do they think about the soldiers who did this?
Well, you imagine, I mean, I was speechless. This like 15 years ago, but I still remember the conversation I had. I mean, they couldn't, Iraq was still under sanction, even without sanction, people. There is nothing can be done. There was no cure whatsoever. So if you see this impact, you will know this is very serious thing. If this happened to anyone, he would like to see this weapon prohibited and made illegal to use.
Okay, let's round up. Thomas C. Mountain out in Eritrea. What do you think should happen next?
Well, your guest says that there's pinpoint attacks. Yes, pinpoint missiles blew up Gaddafi's son and his grandchildren. It was pinpoint missiles that blew up a dozen religious leaders in a peace conference in Brega in May 13th, another allegation. I mean, there's all kinds of allegations. Agent Orange was used in Vietnam, and they denied it was a problem for 20 years until everybody was dead. That's just standard operating procedure. You use the best weapon possible against armor, which is depleted uranium, and then you deny.
Thomas, we're going to have to finish it there. Thank you very much indeed. And let's hear finally from you there, Bob. And that is true, isn't it? Often there's a denial, and then when something embarrassing comes out later, then there's an admission.
It's foolish to deny something that is extremely easily provable or disprovable. If you're using something that you don't want anyone to know about and they ask you a question, you don't answer the question. The last thing you do, and every politician learns this, is you lie when you can be proven to be lying. That's stupidity.
All right, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And that's it for today. Thanks to all those of you who have sent in comments to us. Email africa@presstv.co.uk or text us to this number, +44 7800 008086. Messages will be charged at your local operator rates. Many thanks to our guests. They were Bob Ayres, the international security analyst, Mr. Khalid El-Shami, political editor of Al-Quds, and independent journalist Thomas C. Mountain. Luis was back next week for another edition of Africa Today. Till then, it's goodbye from me, and on behalf of the whole team, thanks again for watching.